In this video, I am going to discuss different components of an Android application. This is going to give you an idea that what are the things you need to work on whenever you are developing your first Android application. So let's see them. Android application contains these are the components: activity, service, broadcast receiver, content provider, and Android manifest. Now what is this activity? One activity represents one screen, and you know that an Android app can have multiple screens. Whenever you are planning to define a screen, whenever you are planning to develop one screen of your app, you are going to write an activity. How to write an activity? To write an activity, you have to write a Java class, and there are certain super classes that you need to remember to write that class. You have to write a Java class by extending those predefined classes, and you need to override certain methods on them. So, activity represents one screen. You may have to write multiple activities, and almost 99% cases you have to write at least one activity, because it is very unfamiliar that one particular Android app doesn't have any screen. It generally doesn't happen. Next, service. What is the service? There are certain situations where you do not need any graphical user interface. For example, suppose you want your app to play music. That does not require any graphical user interface to play music. Another example may be, suppose your app is actually downloading some large file from the internet. That also requires some coding in the background, but that particular activity does not need any graphical user interface, any screen. For these kind of situations, you are required to write service. For service also, you have to write a certain Java class. You have to write Java class that inherits certain predefined classes supplied with the Android API. And you need to override certain methods. That's what the service is. Now coming to broadcast receiver. This is a very interesting one. Suppose you have seen situations where a OTP is coming to your phone, and automatically your app is actually sensing that incoming API, and automatically the text field is getting filled up by that API. For example, when WhatsApp security issue comes, whenever you are going for WhatsApp registration, so you get an OTP from the WhatsApp website, and your app automatically senses that OTP and fills the box. You need to type those OTP. So how do you do this thing? We can develop this feat using broadcast receiver. So whenever a SMS reaches in your device, Android device, broadcast that a SMS has come, and some interested app can react to that incoming SMS event. Whenever you want to write a code that must interact, that must react to that incoming SMS, you need to write broadcast receiver. There may be several other situations. Suppose you are writing an app which is playing a music, and that music must be paused whenever an incoming call has come. So whenever an incoming call reaches to your device, Android makes a broadcast, and you can write an app, you can write a code that reacts to that incoming call. Similarly, suppose whenever your battery goes out of charge or low power situation, you need some app to react to that. In that situations, you need to write broadcast receivers. Then come content provider. Android has a specific property that a data stored by a particular app is not visible to any other app. This is some part of security of Android. But suppose you need to expose one app's data. For example, you want to expose your app stored data to some other app. For example, suppose a contact app. Contact app stores all the contact data, but they exposes it for other app also. So app can get those contact details and do something really required for that particular app. If you want to do this kind of situations, if you want to achieve this kind of app, then you need to write content provider. For broadcast receiver, for content provider, for service, for activity, every time you have to write Java code. You need to remember what particular Java class to inherit, what particular Java method to override. Now I am coming to Android manifest. This is not any Java code, this is an XML. You need to remember, you have to write XML for this. But what is this XML? In this XML, you need to register all the developed component. So that's one of the central point of every Android application. So there exists a certain XML file. That XML file name is Android manifest.xml. That must be there inside every app. And what is the activity of this XML? This actually registers all the component that you have developed for this particular app. That's all about the component of an Android application. But it's not that all the components you have to write. Most of the time you write activity. Some of the time you write activity along with broadcast receivers. Some of the time you have to write content providers also. Some of the time you have to write service also. But it's not mandatory that every time you have to write all the components together. But Android manifest.xml is mandatory. Without Android manifest.xml, it is not possible to develop an Android app. It won't run. That's all about the Android components. Thank you. Thank you for watching us. For more videos like this, subscribe our edtech channel victionary.net. Like, comment and share our videos. Thank you.